I was kind of always hard on myself. I quit a lot of things. If anything started getting hard, I would just stop. Everything was stacking up against me. I just was like, I'm going to do it. And then as it got closer, it just seemed like I was moving up against so much resistance going into it.
I feel like so many times if we're just looking for a state of flow and we're met with resistance, we take that as a sign, oh, this isn't for me, it's not right, and I'm going to redirect. But knowing you only from that retreat, I felt that you were very present, you were very part of the experience. I had no idea that prior to that you were feeling frenzied even, like maybe this wouldn't happen.
Giving yourself the permission to pause, even if it's not a, week-long retreat, maybe it's just spending 20 minutes a day with no stimulus and just meditating and just being with yourself every day. You got to get to know who you are.
You just made me feel like it's okay to kind of crumble a bit, but also like, why are you crumbling? Like, there's no reason for that. We're all in this together and all of this. And to me, like, you were such a testament for like finding your people within a community.
That experience, I think, in Tulum helped me be able to pour more into women. They need their cups full too, but obviously I can't pour from an empty cup. That helped me with my clients moving forward too. I recommend women now, they have a vision of like how they want to feel and how they want to do, but they have no idea where they are right now. You can't know where you're going until you.
Jenny Wright, welcome to Becoming You. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I met just over a year ago now in Tulum at a women's retreat. So I would just love to kind of start right there. If you can recall what brought you to that retreat, and where were you at in your life versus where you are now. Obviously, we've stayed in touch since then. So it's great to kind of have this check-in point since then.
Yeah, gosh, that retreat came up. So I'd been working in a women's group the year prior, and one of our retreats that we went on, the breathwork, she came and did a little retreat for us there, and then from that point, I found out that she did this as a retreat of her own, and it piqued my interest. So I kind of stayed on her radar, and when I saw that Tulum retreat come up, I jumped on it. It was terrible timing. Like everything
Always.
was stacking up against me. I
Mhm.
just was like, you know what? I'm going to sign up.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And then as it got closer, it just seemed like I was moving up against so much resistance going into it. But I made it happen. And it's so funny because I feel like that was really the turning point for me in how the rest of the year played out, and with my business and everything. So it was,
Right.
yeah, it was worth it.
I know, that's, like, remarkable that you were able to push through it. I feel like so many times if we're just looking for a state of flow and we're met with resistance, we take that as a sign, "Oh, this isn't for me, it's not right, and I'm gonna redirect." But knowing you only from that retreat point forward, I felt that you were very present, you were very part of the experience. I had no idea that prior to that you were feeling frenzied even, like maybe this wouldn't happen. So, what made you push through it? How were you able to push through it?
I think I had been my whole life. I was kind of always hard on myself. I quit a lot of things. If anything started getting hard, I would just stop. And I think I had learned that 2 years prior, I had started a kind of work from home business doing health consulting. And just working through things in that couple of years, I'm like, oh, okay, when things get tough, sometimes if you stick with it,
Mhm.
things will flow a lot easier after that point. So definitely a learned experience from just meeting resistance so many times in my life and seeing the difference between giving up and pushing through. And it just, my gut was calling me to it. And so I couldn't shake that feeling. I knew I was going to be disappointed if
Mhm.
I didn't go.
Right. Wow, awesome. Very well said too. I feel like there are moments where we can look to the past and realize, "Hey, I made it through this difficult time and there was, sunshine on the other side." So, I'm gonna use that, as a kind of reminder that I can do hard things and move through this. And I think having that gut instinct or your intuition kind of still pulling you forward and tugging on your heart or however you experience that, helps alleviate some of that stress that, is
Yeah.
required to kind of push through sometimes when we're feeling not 100% about something.
Yeah, definitely. It helped that also, so I was opening up an in-person office and business, and there were a ton of delays. in getting that started. So I was supposed to open up and start, I think it was like the week before the retreat, and things got delayed and pushed back until March 1st. And at the time, that was so frustrating and like, oh, I just want to start. And now, in hindsight, of course, it was like, okay, the universe gave me that space and time to
Yeah.
go and do this work first. So,
Right,
yeah.
right, and then come back refreshed, reset, rejuvenated, all the RE
Oh,
words.
yeah, and the flow, you mentioned, like, up against resistance and then the flow. After that, everything just fell into place. It
Mhm.
like, the stars aligned. I don't know. It was like it was the best experience. I had such a clear head,
Yeah.
coming back from that, and everything just made so much sense.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I've been able to see your work from afar through Instagram, and obviously you've made, I
Mhm.
think, even a second business since then, so we'll get into that too, but it's just been awesome kind of seeing you be on fire and then do something with that passion and energy and kind of make it work. So, I'm so glad to have gotten to know you briefly during this in between part of your life, right? Between actually opening the business, but also filling up your own cup and making sure that you're ready to take that on, and kind of make it happen. Who's your target audience that you're catering to the most? I mean, I would guess women, but I just want to make sure before I assume that.
Yeah, yeah. So women, mostly in that perimenopausal transition. So ages 35 to 45 is really the main target. But I have women who are trying to start a family and going through fertility challenges. And then I have women who are over 45, 50 postmenopausal who are looking for additional support.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely women though. And
Yeah.
that experience, I think, in Tulum helped me be able to pour more into women because with working with women, they need their cups full too, but obviously I can't pour from a empty cup, so that helped me with my clients moving forward too.
Right, 100%, yeah, and, I remember sitting around the dinner table, that we had, like, every evening and just hearing your story a bit, and how inspiring that was, and then I remember another moment where I felt like I was in my kind of avoidant phase, and I, like, ran off to the beach and was just, like, decompressing or whatever I was doing, and then you and a couple of the other women came over, and we kind of bonded over this song, like, you think you're better off alone and all of that, and it's just stuck with me, but I always think of you when I hear that song specifically because you just made me feel like it's okay to kind of crumble a bit, but also, like, why are you crumbling? Like, there's no reason for that, and, like, we're all in this together and all of this, and it's really to me, like, you were such a testament for, like, finding your people within a community, right? Because there's always, like, sections of a community where you feel a little more comfortable maybe than others, and yeah, I mean, to me, you're a great example of a woman and someone who can like hold space for other women, which is not always the case, unfortunately, in society. So I'm just so grateful that I got to experience that side of you, but also you're doing this for so many other people too.
Oh yeah, thank you. It is one of those things that it's so fulfilling and rewarding, and yeah, it's unfortunate that more women don't support women in our society, so happy to be part of that
Yeah,
shift.
yeah. What inspired you to get involved with the perimenopausal community specifically? Because I know you're a PA, you used to work like for another company, but now you're running your own businesses. So what inspired that shift and that target audience, so to speak?
Yeah, so I was always in OBGYN, so always worked in women's health. And it was actually through COVID where I really saw a shift. We started to do more online instead of face to face. And I had small kids at the time, so I was looking for a little bit more work flexibility and knowing that I could kind of do what I wanted to do virtually versus needing to be in an office was one thing that piqued my interest. And then the other part of it too was
Working with women in women's health, especially through COVID and the stress that a lot of women were going through, I noticed all of my conversations were about women just either too stressed or not feeling well or feeling like their hormones were off, but not really understanding what exactly was going on. I mean, the biggest thing was just like, gosh, I just feel off.
Mhm.
And didn't have an explanation. And I would try to run all the labs I could. I would do as much as I was trained to do and knew how to do. And unfortunately, a lot of my answers for women was, well, I can put you on an antidepressant, or, we could try birth control to regulate your periods. And luckily, enough women fought back and they were educated on their own, and started asking more questions like, there's got to be another way. And then since I had a little more time, we weren't as busy in the clinic because of COVID, then I started to kind of research on my own. And that's when I found, I started off in a holistic hormone health practitioner certification course. So I went through that. And from there, then found functional medicine, and it just kind of grew.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm sure because I know you kind of focus also on gut health, which is intertwined, right, with the hormone treatments and this holistic medicine versus like typical SSRIs and anything else that's
Yeah.
kind of in Western medicine. How have you seen that integrated? And like I know for your family too, like you're always focused on whole foods, I feel like, and using whole ingredients and not processed stuff and things like that. So I'm just thinking like abstractly when you're hearing people talk about their stress and stuff, how much of your response is like, "Hey, it's what you're putting into your body too, and it's how you're sleeping," and like just basic, necessities. And then where do you kind of implement that in your own life too?
Yeah, I think nutrition is one of the foundations. I also teach an 8-week hormone balancing course that goes over each of my foundations. So every week, it's kind of building in a new foundation, and
Mhm.
you kind of grow from there. So definitely the foundations. The way I explain it is what you surround yourself with, your inputs affect your outputs. So your body, if it's outputting, imbalance, or, if you're tired, or, any of the symptoms you're having, you've got to look at what you're putting into your body. Part of that's food, of course, but part of it is, content you're looking at. If you have the, bad news on all the time, the people you surround yourself with too. So with all of my patients, even before we do testing, I do a complete intake form, and I kind of start to take note of where there could be imbalances in those areas. And so that's really the bulk of what I do is fixing those lifestyle things and those foundations. And then once we get the testing results back, then I can layer in targeted support, more personalized nutrition, more personalized fitness routine, personalized supplements, of course, but it all starts with the foundations.
Yeah, that's remarkable. I'm wondering when you're going through this diagnostic sort of process, how receptive are people to hearing, hey, maybe you need to cut out these news outlets or these TV shows or this social media or these people from your life? And how deep do you go into those conversations?
It is it's a tough
I can
tough
imagine.
conversation sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, holding up a mirror to somebody sometimes isn't very comfortable. And of course, I'm not, a trained therapist at all. So, and I let them know, I think these things would benefit you. You might, if you need additional help, you can work through with the therapist to really weed things out. But yeah, just kind of just bringing it up. Sometimes it's not even something people are aware of, and it's like, oh. I also think by the time people find me, they've already gone through the basics, the Western medicine. They've tried birth control, they've tried the SSRIs,
Mhm.
they've done that, so they are kind of looking for something different. And I find just after that initial intake with clients, they're like relieved that I'm like speaking their language. I'm like, I'm actually talking about these adjustments that no other physician, PA, NP has ever talked to them about before. So they're pretty receptive.
That's good, yeah, and it makes sense that they've kind of already been on the journey, so they're willing to try anything, I'm sure, at that point, and you're probably giving them new information that maybe they haven't heard before or it hasn't been specifically, catered to them. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I'm glad that they are receptive. I was getting a little worried thinking, like, that could be, like, a point of contention, right? Because if you were to walk into a traditional doctor's office, I think there's that set of expectations that they're just gonna cure you, or put a Band-Aid on or something, but you're not really gonna go deeper. And of course, in a therapy setting, a lot of people don't wanna do talk therapy because talking about your feelings it can be uncomfortable, and getting that mirror held up, and receiving feedback is not always where people wanna play, so to speak. They just wanna move through life and, you know, make the pain go away. Which leads me to kind of another question for you. So when patients and clients are coming to see you and they're talking about their pain, and just personally in my own life as I've been getting older, I notice pain kind of appearing overnight. It seems unfounded, there's no cause for it, and then it doesn't go away. It's now part of my new normal that I have to contend
Yeah.
with. So, are you noticing that same thing, and how much of it is directly related to stress? Can it be solved with meditation and stuff like that? What sort of symptoms do people experience and then they come to you and you're able to help them with those?
Yeah, pain is an interesting one. There are diagnoses like chronic pain syndrome or, fibromyalgia and those types of things. And a lot of it stemming from inflammation. So, checking inflammatory markers, doing the gut health test, because that can be a huge hidden driver of inflammation. Stress definitely. So cortisol is heavily involved in inflammatory regulation too. So definitely it's just you can have one symptom and multiple causes. So you got to look upstream and try to really
Mhm.
get to the root of what's going on. Stress is absolutely part of it. I would say stress is probably the biggest root cause that I'm seeing that can affect everything. It affects pain, it affects digestion, it affects hormone balance. And so, really, that is one of my biggest focuses, especially with women, because I saw somebody sent me a Instagram meme today. It was like, you're not, can I say a bad word?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
It says, maybe you're not a bitch. Maybe you're just a woman who's doing 1950s housework while also trying to work like a man.
Right.
And
Valid,
like,
literally, yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
it's so true. Like we're
Mhm.
doing double duty.
Right.
And it's just I think we're all and men too. Men are also expected to kind of keep up and do more. We have
Mhm.
more at our disposal and we're able to do more because of technology, but I still think our bodies aren't meant for this constant go, go, go. And it
Right.
does take a toll.
Right, right, and our brains too, we're constantly feeding them the to-do list, right, and ridiculing ourselves if we're not getting enough done, and then we get vilified too by society, right, like even that meme is describing, and whether, no matter what gender you are, you can feel that same sort of out external stress and judgment, for not doing enough, or not doing the right things, and in the right order and all of that, and I feel like even for myself, in my calendar, I list out every single thing I'm doing in a day, and I'm constantly checking in. So this is what I'm telling my brain, right? Like we have to do these things, and then I'll move stuff and I feel better. But then when it approaches and it still hasn't gotten done, I'm like, oh crap, here we are again.
Yeah.
So
It is. It's constant. And
yeah,
that constant input, that constant stimulant is telling your cells literally, it's you're saturating your cells with that stress constantly.
I personally have gravitated towards hydrotherapy as a way to kind of alleviate some of my stress. So, like, the hot tub, the sauna, the cold plunge. But I do remember, and because you mentioned cortisol, this reminded me, but I remember you telling me, like, for women, cold plunges are not typically actually helpful for them because it does spike our cortisol and we're already stressed enough. So, can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit more? And maybe what are some tools that you're seeing to help women specifically manage their stress?
Yeah, so and there are good hermetic stressors, right? So yeah, the whole "what doesn't kill you makes you stronger" thing, that's true. It just kind of depends on your adrenals and how well they're functioning. The way that I tell women, with things like HIIT exercises or cold plunge or intermittent fasting, any of those things that can be hard on the adrenals, I always put it back to how it makes you feel. Like if you're doing cold plunges because you think you're supposed to, but you feel like absolute garbage after you do it, it's probably too much for your system, and you need to focus on more lower intensity kind of stress management techniques, more like the meditation and the yoga and the sauna, or feel
Mhm.
things that feel good to your system are gonna help. Also, one thing to note too, oxytocin trumps cortisol. So when you're thinking about a stress management practice, a lot of times people stress about what stress management practice to do, right? So they're like,
Yeah.
well, I hate meditating or I hate journaling, but I'm going to force myself to do it because I'm told it's good for me. And
Right.
it's like, well, no, like do something that actually makes you happy, that you enjoy, that
Mm,
doesn't leave you feeling drained. Also, of course, when we do the in depth testing and I take a look at the cortisol pattern, I'm able to say, okay, you might be able to tolerate some higher intensity things at this time, but maybe don't do it around this time. Or phase of your cycle too. When you're in your follicular and ovulatory phases, you can withstand some more of that good hormetic stressors, whereas the luteal phase, maybe not so much. So, and I know everybody wants an answer to that question, but
Yeah,
it really is so personal, and
right.
everybody's different.
Right. No, and that's fair, and I like your answer anyway, so don't worry, it doesn't need to be, like, cookie cutter by any means.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's nice too to know that it can be personal like, the solution can be personalized because we wanna feel unique and special even in our pain and know that we don't just have a one size fits all remedy, you know? And also to know that someone's actually hearing our situation and understanding us holistically, like you do holistic medicine, but the person is wants to be viewed holistically too. So I'm sure that that goes a long way in these conversations and just the experience because if you're working with women 35 to 45, that's potentially a 10-year client, that's working with you throughout a huge part of our lives. And as women, we know about menopause, but perimenopause is kind of newer on the scene, right? And even tracking our cycle apart from when does your period start, but all the phases that you just mentioned, like luteal and follicular and all of that, it's becoming more common to discuss these things, but there's still such a lack of education from the jump that we have to kind of backtrack, and play catch up. And then also share that knowledge, across society so that they can be more understanding of us too.
Yeah, and unfortunately, women have not really been studied in medicine for a very long time. Like, really recently, from the 90s, most studies did not include women. But what they found in the studies were extrapolated to women, but it wasn't relevant, right? But they couldn't
Mhm.
be in the studies because we're too complex
Love
to
that.
follow. We have too many variables with our changing hormones. So a
Right.
lot of times we're excluded from studies, but then we're given the same instructions as men for certain things. So yeah, having more recent research and data, it's going to take longer to disseminate all that information. And I feel like there's a huge swing of information coming at women now, which is great. But it's like now it's like drinking through a fire hose, and you
Yeah.
don't know what's what. You can read one study that says one thing and
Mhm.
another, and now there's like too much information, and
Right.
trying to sift through can be difficult. So,
Yeah.
yeah, really learning what your specific body needs and what
Mhm.
it's doing. I think that's huge, especially with just how much information we have at hand.
Right, yeah, and not feeling overwhelmed by it because that will lead to more stress, so
Yeah, right.
literally, it's like that analysis paralysis or whatever, where we're just, like,
Yeah,
causing the condition that we're experiencing.
totally. Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of that going on.
Mhm, yeah. So walk me through after Tulum, you go back, you open your shop, which was so amazing to see too, kind of like that before and after transition, and you're a woman in business, and you're an entrepreneur, and you're really making it happen, and I think that alone is so inspiring because so many women now, of course, they want to open their own businesses. They maybe wanna get out of that typical 9 to 5, and have more of a work-life balance that works for them and their families, where you're kind of creating your own schedule and things like that. But take me through like the last year and why and maybe not why Tulum like catapulted you, but what were the effects of that catapult journey for the last like 12 months or so?
I think it was like a recentered refocus. I think, we did a lot of meditation. We did a lot of like deep diving into ourselves. And it was just very validating to know that, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. And so just kind of giving myself that time and space to really have all that crystallize, I guess, it helped me going forward, knowing that, okay, I took the time, I gave myself the space to really like think about what I wanted to do. And that just kind of it's almost hard to explain because I don't feel like I had to really do anything after that point. Everything just flowed. But I think it's having that time to crystallize your thoughts and really motivate yourself through what fulfills you. Because if something's not fulfilling, it's gonna be sticky, right? But when you're getting so much daily validation from what you do, and it's so rewarding and so fulfilling, it's just like wide open space to run. And so that's really how it felt. And yeah, it's definitely nice, not having a boss to
Of
to
course, yeah.
have to, answer to, and setting your own hours. But then, of course, pros and cons of entrepreneurship, right? Like sometimes I do get client calls on the weekends and nights, and I have good phone boundaries, but I love what I do so much that I'm like, oh yeah, I'll text back at 8 p.m.
Right, right.
Because I do really love it, and I care about my clients and everything. But it
Yeah.
is kind of a 24/7 job.
No, I get that, and I also feel sometimes realistically, even if you wanna have the proper, quote, "proper" phone boundaries, and you see the message come in at 8, if you don't respond, then you may forget to go back to it, you know? So now you're kind of stuck either responding or ignoring them for, like, 12 hours or 24 hours.
Right. That's when it goes in my calendar for the next day reply
Right.
to.
Smart,
I
exactly,
live
yeah.
and die by my calendar.
Yeah, no, totally. I
Mm.
love my calendar too, so that's a good point. Because I know some people will just mark texts and emails as unread, but then I still see the notification and I'm like, "I need it to go away." Like, I don't wanna leave the
Yeah.
notification there.
I can't have a like, at night, it's like I gotta clear the
Yeah.
notifications.
Start from
It's
scratch the next day, yeah, exactly.
yeah, totally.
Did you notice any sort of, like, behavioral shifts, or was it just that mindset where you're saying it crystallized for you and you already had the plan in place and now you could just go forward with full confidence? Like, or was there anything that actually changed, for you?
It was mostly a mindset shift, and that crystallization, and I think I worked through a lot of imposter syndrome also, where, I really do think we're all just faking it till we make it, right? And I think and I don't know if it's, like, just age related. You finally hit a point in your life where you have a little bit more confidence in what you do. But I do think I was able to work through a little imposter syndrome on that retreat, and just I had so much inner confidence moving forward
Mhm.
from that. And I don't know, I was just really feeling my purpose, I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
and understanding that, yeah, I'm on the right road.
right. That's so cool. Did you notice when you came back anything falling away? Or was 2025 like just a very robust year for you and everything worked out for the most part?
Gosh, yeah, I'm like, I'm trying to rack my brain and go
And
back,
you're
but
okay,
yeah, it
yeah,
was
like
just
maybe maybe it's
everything.
everything's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, of course there's challenges, but I think coming back so refreshed from that, it was just, and I recommend women now, who come and see me, they have a vision of like how they want to feel and how they want to do, but they have no idea where they are right now. And so and I tell women all the time, you can't know where you're going until you know where you are. So giving yourself the permission to pause and take a time, even if it's not a, week long retreat, maybe it's just spending 20 minutes a day with no stimulus and just meditating and just being with yourself every day. You got to get to know who you are. And so I think that was part of it too, just really being able to have the time to, on my own, no outside influence. I'm not traveling with my husband or my kids who kind of, I feel like you base who you are by who you're surrounded by. So just going somewhere where I didn't know anybody,
Yeah,
I could be anybody. And
yeah.
so there were no, pre-drawn conclusions of who I was. I was just this face that showed up,
Mhm.
and what came out of me was like it was just my genuine self. And so getting to know myself on that retreat without the people who make me who I am, it was like, oh, okay, I am this person. I'm not a wife, I'm not a mom, I am me. Um, and yeah, it just kind of again crystallized everything moving forward.
That's awesome, and yeah, just recognizing that you're a fully formed human adult person, apart from I love how you said that, like, apart from the people who make you who you are on the day-to-day basis, so often that's who we define ourselves by are the ones that we're surrounded by, so going into an environment where you know no one can kind of bring that into question, but it's so good that that just brought you more peace within yourself too, at the end of the day. It wasn't this existential crisis of who am I, but it's like, "Oh, there you are, I see you."
Yeah, yeah, and I think obviously women lose a lot of who they are over the years because they have to be so many things for so many people. That's like yeah, who am I? It's like that Zoolander staring into the water. Who am I?
Exactly, exactly. And yeah, and whether you're
Mm.
so many things to so many people or you feel that expectation that you were supposed to be all these things and you're none of them, it's still finding who you are in this life. I think that's a journey that we're all on. It's constantly iterative, in many ways, but it's great to know you at this point in your journey. If people want, to work with you or they want to leverage resources that you may share across social media or your website or anything like that, where should they go to find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at rightwellness.co, and that's right, WRIGHT. And then my website's rightwellnessco.com. All my information there. I think the 8-week hormone balancing program is a really good place to start. You just kind of learn more about yourself and how what you do every day really affects you.
Mhm. Awesome. And are there multiple legs to your business? And how does that structure work? Like, are they always reaching out to you or do you have like different departments?
Yeah, it's just me. Yeah, so I am a one woman show, and I kind of prefer it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, like my phone number that's listed, that's just me. So everything, you send an email, it goes right
Mhm.
to me,
Nice.
which I like, and I
Yeah.
think people appreciate too. They'll
Um,
sometimes they'll call to schedule an appointment, and it's just me picking up, and they're like, "Wait, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know this was your cell." I'm like, "You have nothing to apologize for. Like I listed my own number. I want you to call me." Yeah, so just me.
no, I love that. And I may have gotten like my own wires crossed and even looking at your content thinking that there was like more like, I don't know, pillars or something. And I wasn't sure if you had like a spin-off like for nutrition specifically apart from the hormone stuff or again if it's all integrated and that's like a resource for your clients to use.
Yeah, so the way that I work with clients and my plans that I put together include nutrition, it includes fitness, it includes all that. So I'm the one directing all that. And I do have resources that I can refer to if things get a little over my head or if somebody wants more support than I can give. I do have a nutritionist that shares office space with me, and I have a licensed marriage family therapist also that shares an office with me. So the resources are there, but I'm able to manage most of it.
Right,
Mhm.
right. No, I mean, to me, you're doing a tremendous job. So I'm over here thinking of like multiple businesses and all this stuff, but I like that it's one umbrella. It's kind of this one stop shop. I remember when I used to do CrossFit, obviously that's fitness and functional movement related. And then they created a nutrition plan for us based on our weight and I guess our height too. So it either included carbs and fats and proteins or just carbs and proteins. And obviously geared towards, a caloric deficit, right? And losing weight in conjunction with building muscle and things like that. Um, but nutrition has been kind of an elusive thing to me for so long. That was such nice structure to have at the time. And it's already been, 8 years at this point since I was introduced to the macros. I didn't even really know what macros were before then. So to know that you will treat each client, in this personalized way, but then also support them on their nutrition and fitness journeys, I think is huge because those are such key elements. And when you go to other places for them, a gym or, whatever, you're not always, or a dietitian, I guess, too, like it's so siloed, right? It's better, I think, for it to be
Yeah.
communicated across. Because it impacts so many things, like even how you combine foods, they metabolize in your body differently, and you wouldn't know this if you don't talk to someone about it.
Yeah, and I think what people don't understand, like, yes, I specialize in hormone health, right? And then that kind of grew into also gut health because gut and hormones are so closely linked. But really, when we're thinking about hormonal imbalance, it's usually not a problem in and of itself. It's usually a downstream effect from imbalances elsewhere in the body. So what started out as hormone health is now whole body health because
Mhm.
you can't treat hormones in isolation. That would be, a band-aid solution by just giving hormone or giving birth control or whatever.
Right,
So,
exactly.
body composition
Mhm.
affects your hormone balance. If you have more fat tissue, you tend to have more estrogen dominance and more inflammatory estrogens. So, yeah, I can't do what I do without addressing fitness and nutrition because it affects your hormones drastically.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so good to know too. See, I'm already learning something new. Didn't know any of that, and I think too, some of the symptoms that you talked about, like just the tiredness and the stress, like, we so often take that as just a normal way of being, and it's good, I think, to sometimes bring it under a microscope and question whether that has to be that way or if there's something we can do to alleviate some of that, because it does have that trickle down effect where it's affecting and impacting other things. For instance, like a month ago, I started getting pain in my jaw and it's still here. And I don't know if I have TMJ or not. Like my teeth are perfect and all of that, but I find that stress has shown up in my body in different ways over the years, and it's never just stayed one way. Like I used to get some of those like sores in my mouth, and then I knew I
Mhm.
was stressed out, right? But then when they stopped showing up, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not stressed anymore. But then something else would happen, right? So I feel like right now I'm in
Yeah.
this like jaw pain phase of my life. And I don't know if that's something that you touch on or not, but like I'm hoping I can meditate my way out of this.
Yeah, and I always recommend the one thing I don't do is like somatic therapy, and I do have someone that I refer out to for that because I mean, and getting to know women and how many different consults I've had, you can almost see where women hold their stress just
Mm,
talking to them.
yeah.
I will also say from Tulum, I think I leaned into more of my intuition, which helped me kind of see more energy in other people as I'm talking to them. So I feel like my exams are very intuitive,
Mhm.
and more, less about like specific structural exam findings, but I'm reading the whole woman energetically now too. I feel like I've tapped into that a little bit more. So yeah, you can absolutely see stress does get carried in the body in certain places. So I always recommend somatic therapy because you can actually kind of work through where that stored trauma or stored stress is. Because a lot of times things don't get better until you really do release those.
Right, right.
Um, yeah. And that's nothing that I can do with diet and exercise and
Yeah.
lab testing and everything. That needs specialization.
Right. Okay, that's super interesting too, and yeah, I mean, we're holding it in our bodies, and the Band-Aids don't actually alleviate the cause of it, right? And so often, like I was saying, I mean, the pain shows up overnight, and we don't know where or why it's here, but here it is. And so it's almost a matter of, like, following your intuition or doing the somatic journey to figure out what's causing this and how do I actually solve for that, or accept it if it can't be solved and fixed.
Yeah, yeah, and I there is a lot of that too, acceptance. I think, and especially when it comes to women and wanting to hit a weight on the scale, I tell women up front, I do not do weight loss. I am not here to help you lose weight. I'm here to help you get healthy,
Mhm.
whatever that might look like. And I think there's a lot of expectations from society, and being able to meet yourself where you're at and feel as good as you can feel with where you are right now in the stage of life, whether that's maybe 10 pounds heavier than you're used to being, or it's, you have small kids and you're not sleeping. And, so there is a lot of having grace with yourself and your stage of life that you're in and acceptance. And I counsel a lot of women on that too.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and so many of my women friends who are moms, like, come to mind when you describe that because it does feel like the never-ending phase of life, and I tell them I mean, I don't have kids, but it's easy to say this from afar, like, "Oh, it's not forever, it's 18 years," or something like that, where you're just like,
Yeah.
you'll move through it. But I think in that day to day, like, it does feel forever, and it's hard for me, like, to not be able to help them and pull them out of what appears like to be depressive energy. And I'm like, I don't want them to be depressed about the life that they chose, but it's hard in the day to day to be happy and like keep moving through it. And there has to be like in a level of acceptance, but I also think there need to be outlets too to remember who you are, and to just fill your cup outside of those roles and titles that you now have, at this phase of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I would strongly urge those women to just take time for themselves. And I know when you have kids, trust me, I have two kids. I get it, and it is hard to remove yourself from that. But you become such a better parent when you're not depressed and stressed, and you don't know who you are. So yeah, removing yourself from the the people who you base who you are off of, and just get to know yourself again, and take that energy with you everywhere you go.
Yeah. Really well said, Jenny. Thank you. Is there anything else that's top of mind, that we haven't touched on that you'd wanna share with the audience?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, we sure did, and I'm so glad to have had you on the show. This conversation was so fruitful, and I can't wait to listen back to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katrina.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
You are my most important listener, and I can't thank you enough for spending your time with me. If this content resonates with you, then hit subscribe. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube by following @ConnectorQueen. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again on the next episode of Becoming You.